The ModernJeeper Show, the show about Jeeps, Jeeping, and Jeepers.
Well, hey, Modern Jeepers, welcome to another episode of the ModernJeeper Show. It's me, Matson from Metal Cloak, and Mr. Modern Jeeper, Corey Osborne.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, and Jessy's back, Rockstar Jeep Girl. Hi.
She
So
is.
How was your little drop off in Oklahoma?
Busy.
Yeah. Did you bring your mom back?
Yes.
So she gets to go to Moab, right?
Yes. I'm so excited.
That's awesome. Is she excited, or are you just dragging her along?
I think she's just scared that I'm going to wreck her. I'm like, Mom, you're fine. She's like, why are you putting new harnesses in? Why are you putting a cage in? Why?
Why is all this
It's for
stuff
your
here?
protection.
It's for your protection. It's for my protection. It's for
Right.
my liability.
That's right.
Wow. Cool. Well, that's like, you guys, what, you leave tomorrow?
Yes.
Yeah, tomorrow afternoon. And we have been in, since we've been on the road for so long, we did our 35 days, it feels like 7 weeks, but it's just 7 days a week for 5 weeks. We're in a mad dash, and Jessy's Jeep, her two-door JK, while very well equipped, is getting another iteration, I guess. A rock hard sport cage put in it, new seats, new harnesses, done right this time.
Done right this time.
Yeah.
Do
And I put
elaborate.
a new
Come on, you
bar
gotta
in for
elaborate
my
on that.
speakers. Huh?
You got to elaborate on that.
Well, I think it's a mixture of how we've all built Jeeps in the past,
Mhm.
and you put in what you have at the time, and you make it work for what you have.
Yeah.
Right.
Once you cross that line of doing things the right way, as our guest will probably be able to talk about in great detail.
Guess what guest?
We only, I just had this conversation with her. Spike, my TJ that I had, I built that over the course of about 16 years. It wasn't tomorrow. It wasn't in 2 days.
Mm.
These things evolve. So as you make changes, always I try to tell people, keep in mind that you may want to change something down the road. This may not be the perfect end all be all of what you want it to be right now. So you should make provisions and understand that if you start welding things in, that's kind of permanent. It's okay that we can change them later. It's just a heck of a lot more
It's going to
work.
be a project to get my old harness bar out.
Yeah.
Mm.
I'm going to have to take everything out.
And cut
torch it
and
out.
re-weld and
Yeah. That's just fun, dirty work.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, with my old seats, they set back pretty far. And so the bar is down, and the new one we got is pretty much going to be in the way of the other one. So we didn't get that in until I take everything out. Because once I take everything out, then I'm going to put my Armor Light flooring in.
Ooh,
And then my seats, and torch out that bar and have a new bar in the back.
nice. That's happening like all in the next 24 hours. You can take.
Yeah.
We were like, now I just got to wire my speakers and my radio and clean it up, and I'm good.
When we talk to our guests, I wonder if they've ever done anything like this. But you ever seen like some of those, and it was kind of a thing for a little while, like the badass build in 3 days.
Oh, right.
Like,
Yeah.
it's one thing to do it on TV, but another to actually like go and do these. I don't know how you do that.
Well, it's interesting, and because of our industry and how things evolve, a company like Armor Light, and a huge shout out to those guys, that really it just didn't exist a couple of years ago. So the guys that would go either Rhino line or Linux their tub and still had to deal with a lot of the heat issues, Armor Light came along and said, wait a minute, we're an OEM provider already. We've already got these molds basically that will form fit your Jeep and fit along with all of the, literally with the with all of the pieces parts, all the plastic interior that our new Jeeps have, once you take all that stuff out, put these floors in there and put the trim pieces back on, it's pretty amazing. Like, but it just didn't exist a couple of years ago. So all of us that have made, made do with what we had
I
to
put towels
do.
on the floor because it is so stinking hot.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to just spend money on, oh, we should get this. And then looking at it compared to what I just got, there's no comparison. Like, I'm glad I waited a little bit longer.
Well, but that's the difference between like them and us. Like, we complained about the problem and they actually went and fixed it and created a solution, right? But, entrepreneurs, inventors create solutions. The rest of us sit around going, friggin' problem.
Nevertheless,
Kids, what do I
the
do with
cuts, the bruises, the cussing,
right?
and
We're
pretty sore. I have 2 goose eggs on my head. I have a big giant knot on my ankle from dropping a collar straight.
Oh yeah, I think I've got like 2 elbows now. It's awesome.
It's been
great.
Couple of days.
You guys are so inspirational.
Don't take it to a shop. You should always take it to a qualified shop.
And before we talk about shops, so it's been interesting here because, well, first off, to our listeners, we said you guys in a couple of days, like, yes, this is the weekend. This is Memorial Weekend. This is our annual. This will be the 4th or 5th? Fourth annual ModernJeeper Adventure in Moab. I have no idea what they're doing because I'm out of the loop because, hey, if you're not going to show up, you don't need to know. So they got all kinds of great stuff planned, and it's going to be another fantastic event, another weekend where I wish I was there. Yep. But out here, I'm kind of hanging out having fun because, our buddy John Mock from Salem, Oregon, and Salem Jeepers, well, his 392 arrived this morning. Well, he arrived it this morning with his 392. In fact, so fantastic story. Like, he's supposed to have this thing delivered last week. It got delayed. I mean, it was hot labeled. Like, if you know John, he is a very persistent guy. If he wants something, he keeps going after it. And it kept getting like delayed and delayed. Finally arrives in Portland. And it's like just sitting there. Like, it was supposed to be thrown in the truck right away and brought down to Salem to Robertson Motors. No, it's just sitting there. And I'm getting worried because, like, I've made all these arrangements to have it here so we can start diving into it this week. And finally, he calls me up and says, okay, so we got permission. He basically went there, for all intent and purposes, as the employee. He went down there. They allowed him to go. He went down with an employee of Robertson Motor. They went and they picked up the rig from the train depot, hopped in it, drove it to the dealership, did the PDI and the stuff they had to do the dealership, threw on 37s. Like, John doesn't wait. He didn't want it to. He threw on 37s right away. And about 5, 6, 7 o'clock, something like that, he hopped on and he drove from Salem, Oregon to California. Got here at 4:30 a.m. to his hotel. Got about 2 hours sleep before he had to get it over here and have us start playing with it. Now, it'll be interesting. And actually, I'm going to hold off on some of our conversation about this till we bring in our guests. But just throwing it on the CTI, we learned some very interesting things. And it's stuff that, like, you wouldn't have expected. Like, maybe she would have thought about this, but they apparently didn't.
Interesting. Differently than the jail, then.
Well, let's just say that it was interesting. I'll put it out. This was not built to be a rock crawler. Plain and simple. There is no way under God's green earth they were building this thinking it was going to crawl rocks.
Well, full-time 4-wheel drive. I mean, that's how they're going to save the entire drivetrain from the thing.
Right.
And you were telling me, we were talking a little bit in the last couple of days about the half doors being VIN attached.
Yeah, VIN matched. How do you like that? I like them apples.
Wow.
But that's okay. You don't need to buy those half doors because Medical has half doors. We have 2 doors.
I think there's a solution there.
There is. Huh. And ours aren't VIN matched. You can have any one you want. I'm happy to put a VIN sticker on it for you, which is interesting. It's a whole nother thing. Again, I got more things to talk about, but this is the type of stuff we want to talk about with our guest, who is Jonathon Chapman from American Off-Road Customs out of Las Vegas, Nevada. Jonathon, you there?
Oh, unmute.
There we go.
Yes, I am here. Hi.
Fantastic.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for being a part of the show. So,
absolutely.
You know, you and I haven't really ever interacted that much, but I've been like a great admirer of the game you've been playing for. When did you start American Off-Road?
We started officially 2 years ago, about 2 weeks ago. So middle of May, about 2 years ago.
And I mean, do we want to dive into the story now? I mean,
we
might as well.
We got to start there. We got to start there.
We got to start there. So tell us the story behind.
Yeah.
Because if you go to your LinkedIn profile, it has you as a different job than.
Have I not updated that? I guess I haven't been on LinkedIn in quite a while.
So what was your job before American Off-Road?
So directly before, I was an employee for Sin City Off-Road, now Sin City Diesel and Off-Road. I pretty much started out, I guess we'll go back a little bit before that. So I started out as just a regular mechanic, working for a dealership for Mini Coopers. And I've been Jeeping since I was 17.
Wow.
Got my first Jeep back then when I was 17 years old, and I'm on my fourth Jeep now. But I pretty much wanted to get schooled, so I understood all the fundamentals of working on vehicles. So I went to school, started working at a dealership for a long time, but I ultimately wanted to get into this industry. And then I found an opening with Sin City, came over to work for them. I was their only technician for a while, and ended up like going and recruiting all my friends from the dealer and saying, hey, let's go work over here, work on off-road stuff. It's way more fun.
Nice.
And then after a couple of years of doing that, and pretty much, I guess, running the business and the shop and everything, me and a partner decided to kind of do it on our own, and we created American Off-Road from there. And it has been a ride since then.
Well, and you're in. I mean, you're in the same parking lot.
I'm actually in the same building, the same unit.
Building as Sin City. And Dennis is an old time supporter of Metal Cloak and back in the day, and hanging. So I think I met him this was after he was working with us. I met him at it was Big Bear. Met him at Big Bear Forest Fest. Hung out with them there. Great guys, great people, but he went a different direction. He wanted to go more into the diesel stuff, and just what a great opportunity for you.
Yeah, we just had different visions. Nothing against him or anything at all. It's just we just had different ideas, and we decided to kind of just do our own things. And we still talk. He's right next door. So we still see him from time to time. But I got nothing bad to say, and we've been very blessed. Since we've been started our own thing, and to be as busy as we are, and it's been nothing but good stuff.
That's awesome.
It's been cool because the last couple of years when there's events come about, and these guys are also a big supporter of the Vegas Valley 4-wheel drive club, the folks that put on Hump and Bump, and whenever we come out there for SEMA and whatnot, Jonathon has always reached out and said, hey, if you need a place to park the Jeep or the trailer or whatever you need, they've been very supportive to that. So,
yeah. How big's your shop?
It's about 4,300 square feet. Includes about 800 square feet of like office and showroom and part storage. So the actual workspace in the shop is about 3,000 square feet, plus or minus a little bit. We've got 4 racks currently. I got 4 guys working back there pretty much full time.
Wow.
Trying to just keep up.
I've loved it as like, people are like, well, hey, there's a big competition going there between you guys. Like, yeah, competition is good. If I can go around the country and create the same dynamic competition between you and Dennis and every other person, I'd be like, oh, it's beautiful. Life is great. No, it's been great. And you guys have been killing it. You really have been killing it. That's just awesome. Well done. Yeah. Very well done.
Thank you. I mean, it wouldn't be possible without, your guys' support. I mean, that's like I told you before, 80% of our customer base is probably Jeepers that Metal Cloak has a really good product fit for. And based on the product quality, the customer service, the price point, it's just a no-brainer to go to a Metal Cloak as, a primary offering. It's not going to be everybody's fit, but it does fit for most people, and it's a great, product. And I have it on my Jeep. It's on Kyle's Jeep. Most of our guys have at least some part of your product on it, one way or another. And it's just, it speaks leaps and bounds to the quality and the versatility of that product.
Not a paid endorsement at all.
Yeah, no, not
it
at all.
really
Not at all.
isn't. It's just the facts.
Well, I appreciate that. So what are some of your other go-to products? What are your go-to wheels? What are your go-to tires? What are your go-to seats?
So we used to be really big on Nitto, and nothing against Nitto. It's just hard to get right now. We've actually, I've switched over to Mickey Thompson's. Been very happy with their performance. To be honest with you, for the most part, there's a lot of really good tire manufacturers out there, and it's just kind of talking to the customers and finding out, what are you doing specifically, what fits for you, and then these days it's okay. Well, let's see what we can get in your, tire size that you're looking for and what's available, and we'll find a good product that matches up for that. One of the things that we really try to do, as far as offer our customer base is have a wide selection. So we're not, pigeonholing somebody into what we sell. It's more about finding what fits for their need. And, with COVID being what it has and parts being hard to get sometimes, we can't always, give them their first choice. And so having multiple options, having a second, third option that's still a good quality product is nice, because then we can still get a completed build for them, and then they can enjoy their Jeep or their truck or whatever they're building, and not waiting 6 months for parts to show up. But seats, PRP is my go-to for those, custom seats. They are really good quality. They allow us to do a lot of customizing, which we like, and we can really tailor fit it for our customers. We do a lot of Genrite stuff when it comes to like roll cages or coilover builds, stuff like that. We're doing a lot more custom fab lately. So we've been getting into building our own, pretty much tube bending, and we're looking at plasma tables for basically being able to make our own tabs and things like that for the customer that wants more of a custom off-road buggy type project. We want to be able to offer everything from, hey, I just got my first Jeep and I want to make it cool. What do I do? Be able to offer that to, hey, I've been wheeling for 25 years and I want to build a custom buggy and do all the crazy stuff. It's like, I want to be able to offer both and everywhere in between. So we try to offer a full spectrum, anything off-road. That's kind of our game plan.
Well, that's great. That's great. And that's kept you busy, I'm sure.
It definitely has.
What's your customer backlog? If I was to try to call you up now and schedule a time, where would you put me?
Well, to be honest, our main goal is keeping our workflow pretty open. So we're only about a week out on our average. If you call and say, hey, I want to get in the shop, our schedule is about a week out on average, and we try to couple that with parts deliveries and things like that. So the caveat there is that if you call and say, hey, I want to order all this stuff, it's like, well, we might be dependent on getting the parts. But because we're our week out in the shop time, we can, once we get like shipping confirmation and stuff, we can schedule you pretty quick from there. If you got your own parts, it's pretty much a week out. So we try to stay pretty open.
Nice. How are you seeing that? Has it improved at all as far as other companies? Obviously, we have pretty good shipping times, but what about the other companies you deal with? Are they improving their times, or is it still?
They're definitely getting better. There are exceptions, and I think everybody in the off-road industry was surprised by the surge in demand that COVID brought. I think a lot of people thought it was going to slow down. I did too.
Yeah.
And it was kind of just the opposite. So everybody was kind of ramping down, and then all of a sudden we got this massive surge of like demand and wanting stuff, and it was like, okay. So there's still some people that are still kind of playing catch up. And I know a lot of that's a factor with getting materials, and it's not necessarily just the production. It's just trying to get the stuff to make the stuff.
Right.
And but for the most part, everybody has been getting better, which is just making my job a lot easier because I can fulfill what people are after easier. So you guys have been much better in the last, several months as far as getting your delivery times kind of back to what we were used to, a year ago, I guess.
Right. And it's, we've been pretty fortunate in be able to build up inventory, but we're, my team out there, they're working every single day to find solutions for material. As you said, yeah, it's the material's the hardest part, and it's changing constantly. What can we use? What can we use to substitute for this? How can we get this in? And material costs. And we haven't, we've been pretty fortunate. We haven't had to pass, costs on to the customers yet. And that's probably going to happen at some point because we're probably paying 3 times the amount for material than we were.
Yeah.
But that's just because of just the overall, I mean, these are the, Corey and I have talked about this before, but this is just the long-term ramifications of 2020.
Supply and demand.
It's going to be happening for a while. And when factories can't get people, our coil manufacturer, we went and visited them and talked to them, and like get a call one day, like, oh yeah, well, pretty much half our staff decided they weren't coming in today. Like we're shut down because we have nobody willing to show up for work today.
Right.
And
that's the other side of the coin, right? Is we may have materials, yet we don't have anybody to actually either take it where it needs to go or process it once it gets there. Yeah, it's just this constant juggling match, and we're seeing a lot of shops. I mean, we were just on the road for 35 days, and a lot of shops are placing orders with their tire manufacturers, literally placing lots of tires. I'm going to throw the number 50 out there because that was one of our other jobbers, and he consistently just puts 50 tires on order, and as they can get them, because there's just no availability. So, and a lot of times the manufacturer says, no, well, we have them, we just can't get them to you.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and that's the job. Out here, I know FedEx is 600 jobs they're hiring for, paying $18.50 an hour.
Yeah.
Right. And just the costs, you've got fast food out here, trying to desperately get people. What did I hear recently? Somebody was giving like a $50 gift card just for coming in to apply for a job. Right.
Wow.
Just to try to get people to come in and try it.
Well, no. And what's that phone number?
Right. Yeah. They were young people, Corey. People. Hard workers. Yeah. Hard workers.
I'm out.
Oh man. So Jeeps, I mean, so do you primarily, I mean, you talked about your overall strategy, but like right now in your shop, what do you got? What's your breakdown of platforms?
Right now it's pretty much all Jeeps. Actually, we have I would say most of our customer base is Jeepers. We do get, some trucks in the shop on occasion, whether they be full size or like the mid-size. Gladiators is a good transition vehicle. Tacomas are a lot of overlanders like those, and we try to offer suspensions and accessories and bumpers and all the things for those things as well. A lot of what we see, we do a lot of gearing. We do a lot of power adder stuff, like engine mods and things like that. I think that kind of speaks to our background in like automotive repair, because we understand a lot more than I guess some other shops that aren't comfortable doing like full engine rebuilds and, diagnosing check engine lights and things. We can offer a full service, so we're not afraid of, putting a supercharger on an engine because we understand how all the engine stuff works anyway. So it's just, it kind of is more easy for us, I guess, in that sense.
So in other words, you're real mechanics.
We are real mechanics. We are. We actually are certified mechanics. So I actually was hybrid certified before I left. Now I guess with the new the 4xe Wrangler that's coming out, I guess I've had somebody come in asking about some stuff for that, and it's not something we're going to turn away just because it's got a big Bauer plant in there that can be scary if you're not familiar with it. But it's as the industry changes, we try to evolve with it, and we want to be able to offer everything, things for everybody that comes in. We've got some weird inquiries from time to time.
Like what?
Some old like cutlasses and stuff, wanting like a 10-inch suspension lift, and they're out there. There's stuff that's out there that you can do that. And we haven't had anybody actually come in and do it, but we get some phone calls for some odd stuff sometimes. We have done like Subarus and some of the crossover SUV lifts and things like that, trying to get a little more off-roady for those. Not all the time, but we get them from time to time. And but we are trying to do more truck stuff and more overland stuff. Maybe eventually we'll get into some side-by-side stuff, but we'll see how that goes.
It was interesting going back east, and we talk a lot, of course, being that we live in Colorado. There's a few Gladiators around, and of course at Moab we see a few Gladiators. When we were back east, there are all the Gladiators that you can't buy in the West. Well, they're all on the East Coast.
Really?
Literally dealerships with 30 and 40 in a line at a dealership.
Wow.
And literally, I come to Montrose, I come through Colorado, and if they have two, they're lucky.
Yeah.
Is that because they're moving them, or just because the other guys aren't moving them?
I made the comment to Jessy. I said, every stoplight we pull up to, if you pull up to a stoplight, you can look through the intersection and find a Gladiator.
Wow.
Yeah.
They put the big rims and
big wheels, wide wheels. I mean, all kinds of different styles of builds, but so many Gladiators out east.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's because the big trucks are out west, right?
Yeah.
Fords, the big, the Dodges, but no, I don't know. That's pretty cool. That's interesting. I would not have suspected that.
No.
Well, if you're going to go and you're going to go to the beach, and so why not buy a Jeep so you can still be part of the Jeep family? Put some wide wheels, 24s, 28s on it, and go to the beach, throw all your sandy stuff in the back. It's a good solution.
Right. Well, but yeah, absolutely. Well, so wait, that wide wheels, that means it doesn't fit on your CTI trailer?
No.
Right.
No. And so, and as a side note to all of that, we're now seeing where Jeep is releasing a whole bunch of incentives for the 4xe. So it'll be interesting to see how all these manufacturers start to deal with the hybrid type of vehicles and what they're willing to push. There's going to be a huge incentive to buy this 4xe, to buy vehicles that do better in fuel economy. Which
is interesting because the 392, which arguably probably has very lousy fuel economy, there's no incentives. That's a $10,000, $12,000, $15,000 premium markup, right?
Yep.
I mentioned it earlier, so it's a good time any to bring it up. So we have this 392 here. Have you had a chance, Jonathan, to get your hands on one, or any customers yet?
I have not had my chance to get my hands on one in the shop, but we have had quite a few customers talk about it. They want it, and then it's the debate is, well, can you take my current Jeep and put a V8 in it? And what's the cost difference for that versus me going and trading it in and getting that one? So there has been that conversation.
If I had a personal choice, I would just take the jail and throw the 392 in it rather than buy it. Because here's just a couple of things. So pull it up on the CTI trailer, right? We got our big black one over here, and the engineering pulls it on. And first thing we want to do is CTI this thing on stock Rubicon wheels, right? Even we took the 37s off that he was running and put these stock Rubicon wheels in. Get it up on there. Start flexing it out. First thing I think of is, man, the sway bar didn't disconnect. And you know what that's like, Corey? Like the Rubicon Edition sway bar, it just goes up, and all of a sudden you have like this much space between the fender and the tire. So I look in there, I go, no, sway bar is disconnected. The jounce, the upper jounce is like 8 inches long. Stock, there's like 2 inches between the little stock rubber jounce and the bump stop. You have no up travel. Like it is like literally the first product somebody's gonna have to come up with is cutting off the stock jounce and putting one on there that gives you up travel. There is no up travel.
Wow.
So why is that?
I have no idea.
Are they wanting to keep it stiffer for the on-road performance that they're thinking?
Yeah, I think they're like focused on the on-road performance. Like these guys are going to go out there because I'm sorry, this is not going to be like good for whoop-de-whoops or anything. I mean, it's going to be right.
Yeah.
I mean, it literally has no up travel. So for whatever reason, they have this super long jounce in there, like sitting there ride height. There's 2 inches between that little yellow bumper. I mean, there's not even enough room to put a Duro spring in there. There's not enough, at stock height.
Is that upper mount, is that a piece of metal extension, or is that all soft?
It's all stock. All stock. To chop it off, which I'm sure plenty of us are going to do.
Like,
So
I have
that
all the conspiracy theories on all the electric vehicles. So
right. So this I mean, so it's going. It has no up travel. Okay, that's number one we notice. Right. So that's fine. Does it? I think it did like 16. I didn't even know what the CTI score was, but it was pretty bad. Again, it was as if you put a Rubicon up there, JL, and the sway bar did not disconnect.
Huh.
Then
wow.
Yeah. So then that's one thing. That's one thing. Then we notice, and I'm talking to the engineer, goes, yeah, he had it in 4 low, which you should have it in 4 low to pull it up on. It wants to run through the brakes. Mm-hmm. He had a double foot pedal it. You built a rig and it only has 410 gears in it. Or not, it doesn't have 410s. What did it have in it? Is it 410s or is it?
I think
it should be 410s.
Yeah, it's 410. So
yeah,
it has the 410s. It has the
4-to-1.
It has a 4-to-1. It is all set up for putting in a 4 low. You've got the engine, like
a lot of torque.
Why didn't you put the brakes in there to stop it? Now, if you're going to go change the gears, you're in trouble. I mean, that's what our JK was like when we put the LS in there before we put a big brake booster. You're like,
well, and Jonathan can talk about this. I mean, this is the problem with we get guys on the CTI trailer where they've got some upgraded horsepower, which also comes with a higher torque value. They put the thing in 4 low, and literally you can't stop them. I don't care how big your brakes are. You've got a ton of torque. That just you're going to drive through the brakes. There's a lot of torque behind that. But for guys who are new Jeepers,
oh god, they're in trouble.
It's going to be scary.
That's going to be interesting.
Ethan, our head engineer, I mean, he just it idled up the trailer, no problem, super easy onto the trailer. And of course, our CTI trailer is a much bigger, longer ramp than Corey's, but he had a double fist, double foot it to stop it.
Jeez.
Wow.
Now that's number 2. Now there's a bunch of stuff underneath, and the exhaust. I mean, doing skid plates for this thing is going to be incredible because it just has, my screen keeps going black back there, but it just has a bunch of stuff underneath. The way the exhaust hangs and everything. It's going to be very interesting to try to do a whole skid plate system for that. But last and final thing is the oil pan. Everybody's heard about the oil pan. I mean, the oil pan has been a discussion. It hangs pretty low. That's fine. You can deal with it. But the bolt, guys, the bolt is like it's like protruding at the very back end. It's like it gives you another inch of a hit point on the bottom.
They didn't put it on the back. Put it on the back.
Put it on the back.
Wow.
So I think we're doing oil pan swaps.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
be fabricated oil pans. You're gonna be doing a lot of those. So
who's gonna be coming?
Get prepared, Jonathan.
First.
There's 3 things you're gonna be working on for people.
I got my notepad out.
At Easter, we looked at a couple of the concepts, and the concept that had the 392 with the exhaust that you can basically there's a cutoff where you can run it open, and again, all of that technology built into just the exhaust system, where now there's a cutoff valve and there's a rerouting of it. When we go to work on these things, it's going to be like, well, we really can't change a lot. And we heard this 6 months ago, that they're really geared more towards not allowing the aftermarket to really get their hands in this thing. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
It's definitely going to be something to watch for. It's going to create a lot of hurdles for people that are used to being able to just buy a Jeep, and then it's like a Rector set. You just swap parts out and do whatever you want with it. And now we're making it much more difficult. We're already seeing, a lot more issues on the JL platform, compared to the previous model, just because of the electronics that are there.
Well, and it was funny, Jessy had got a rock hard cage for her JK, and it's a 2009 JK, and I was surprised that even the differences. You know what? I never owned a JK. That's right. I'm one of those guys. I was a TJ, an LJ, and now a JT guy, so I skipped a whole generation. But modifying the JK versus what we were used to working on with the TJs and LJs, it became a real pain in the butt. All of those plastic trim pieces, all of those little things, the electronics. Well, then we went from there to the JL. Talk about an electronic nightmare.
Oh, yeah.
I was talking to one of the guys at Metal Cloak yesterday, Scott Becker, and we're talking about trimming dash panels and things like that. Well, oh, by the way, those dashes are leather. Yeah, you can't just cut and trim stuff off anymore. It's going to be no, what are you trying to do? Why? Again, we have this conversation when we're running the CTI trailer a lot with guys who want to replace they've just purchased a $60,000 Jeep and they're going to upgrade their suspension by spending $500. Yeah, guys, that is not an upgrade. So you're going the wrong direction. If you really thought that the Jeep engineers, springs and shock matching components and all those things were only worth $500, then what did you buy? Yeah.
So you guys, I'm sitting here. I'm not ignoring you, right? Actually, we're trying to unlock this pad, and sitting right here in my office right now, you can see him. That's Gary.
Hey!
That's actually our post-production guy who makes all this stuff look really, really good. So he's in here, and then he brings this pad into me that apparently, trying to remember passwords. Like, what's the Apple ID password for this particular? I don't know. Why is it set up that way? As if I did it, like it's my fault because I put it in.
It's your fault.
It's all your fault.
So keep talking amongst yourselves. Subject is living in Vegas. There, go.
Living in Vegas.
Living in Vegas.
I guess that's a good topic for me. I'm not originally from Vegas. I'm actually from the East Coast. So when you talk about, the differences on the East Coast, seeing different Jeeps and stuff like that there versus out West and stuff, my parents still live over there. So I travel over there at least once a year, sometimes twice, to visit them and stuff. So it's really interesting to see the differences in the Jeeps I see driving around town over there compared to what I see out here. And it's I really love it in Vegas. Surprisingly, with the heat, people always assume that it's the desert and it's super hot, and it's why would you want to live there? And to be honest with you, it's really not that hot that much. If you consider, it's 3 months out of the year that it's like really hot, and for the most part, we all got good AC. It's not really that bad. It's just you probably don't want to drive with your top off during that part of the year, but that's why we have soft tops and hard tops. You can take on and off, put it on, and you're okay. You've got your AC.
Go. How long have you been out west then?
I've been living in Vegas for 7 years now. So it's been a while. So I've been here long enough to kind of get acclimated, I guess. And to be honest with you, the trade-off between the wheeling that's out here compared to the East Coast wheeling, it's no comparison.
Right.
It did take some getting used to.
Oh, I bet.
Because I grew up on the East Coast and I was used to trees and mud and rocks in the woods and stuff like that. And I'm coming out here, and when I first built my JK, I was in for a rude awakening my first time out rock crawling, and I was like, okay, I got to make a lot of changes. So that took some getting used to, but I love it. Like I wouldn't give it up at all. The fact that it doesn't rain is actually really nice because you're not subject to all the, we can't go out because it's raining or any of this stuff. It's really few and far between. So it does make for a really nice, being able to go out and enjoy the outdoors a lot more often than not. And, in the summertime when it is really hot out here, you just go out at night. It's 80 degrees, maybe 90 degrees in July at nighttime. So we can hook them up with rock lights and go out and enjoy the trail in the dark. And it's great. It's a lot of fun. So
yeah, it's
fantastic.
funny. It's weird traveling around, and having a bias for the West. We always go back east, and it's a different build, and it's a different aspect of the hobby of jeeping. And even when we go down to Florida, everybody says, well, those guys don't wheel. You know what? It really doesn't matter that they don't wheel like we think of it, but there are still places that they can go. And like I mentioned last week, those off-road shops become tire fitment centers.
Yeah.
And really, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a different aspect of the hobby. But yeah, you come out west, and people don't understand that it's not all about the horsepower. There's a lot of finesse that has to be had in the West, which back east they can get away with not having a whole lot of throttle control, but then they have to have the stronger parts to enable the wheel speed and that kind of thing. So
yeah. And from north to south, it's totally night and day.
Yeah.
What kind of wheeling there is or what kind of builds there are. It's very broad spectrum out east.
Yeah.
See, I admire that. That's the one thing I always wanted to be able to do, is just maybe one of these days when I retire is just travel and just experience the wheeling in all the different parts of the country. Because
my job's taken.
Sorry.
You want to trade? I got a desk here for you. You know how to use a computer.
I'd be out in the shop. I don't want to sit at a desk.
Nothing wrong with that. R&D always needs help.
That's right.
So what are you guys talking about? Because I just,
we were talking about wheeling all across the country and the differences between East Coast and West Coast and what that looks like. And
that whole idea of horsepower, right? I mean, you're
Right.
absolutely right. I mean, that's the thing. And that's where it'd be interesting to see where the 392 ends up and what people do with it. It's going to be pretty easy, I think, I already hear that that Z, they already have the taser. He already showed, like, there's a video popped up. He already showed, what's the guy over there? What's the guy's name that runs that company? I don't know. It's just, anyway, I offhand, somebody showed me that he had already taken and put it into 2-wheel drive. So the taser itself, so all that's electronically controlled.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah. So it's full all-wheel drive down to 2-wheel drive just by electronics. I mean,
that'll be interesting when those broken parts start to show up back at the delership.
Yeah, I get that question a lot.
Yeah, can they be able to plug that into the system and go, yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
We have a full record of everything you've done in here, right?
I actually saw somewhere where they I forget there's a code that pops up on a scan tool that once you've modified anything, it literally has a code that says ECU modified, warranty void.
Oh, wow.
So there's a specific code that it's there once you've done it, and that's it.
That's it.
So there's no going back.
Well, going down the line of weird ideas, like apparently, and I don't know about the rear apparently the drive shafts. So the Mopar part number for the drive shaft on the 392 is the same as any other, like as a 3.6. But again, I mean, which doesn't make sense to me, because you think that, like, we're sitting here thinking, hey, we're going to need to have a front drive shaft. Well, so we should probably have a 1350, right? Because it's a bigger engine. People are going to push it harder, but then they don't. So maybe the all-wheel drive.
Yeah, I was going to say, by having that thing be all-wheel drive full time, I think they're balancing out that torque load, that horsepower load. I mean, you're not going to be doing neutral drops at stoplights. I mean,
why not?
I'm sure somebody is.
What?
Yeah. That's what the taser is for.
Yeah.
How dare they?
Come on, what do they think people are going to do when they're buying 392? They're putting this massive horsepower engine in. It's not because we just wanted to sound good going down the road. A good muffler.
Here's the deal. Because of the pricing, I think that the majority are going to probably be over the age of
consent.
How do I say this politically correct? They're probably not going to be very young.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Of course,
The- the-
I guess you lease it, and who cares?
Right. Well,
Right.
there is one of our great customers who has a big shipping company back in Colorado. In fact, I think I've mentioned this before, Mike. He ships like the big parts of spaceships and all that kind of stuff. The type where if you want to have something moving down the road and they have to take lines down, that's what he does. Well, and he got a 392. And originally it was like, well, we got a 392. Hey, you guys need it? Do a little R&D. He dived into it and decided that he didn't want to change it. Like he's going to leave it stock. He just wants to play with it and have fun. He just drives so well that way. So, which is great. I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of people who are going to do that. They're just buying it. And by the way, it sounds pretty badass when you flip that little switch on the dash, and it goes from one exhaust to another.
I don't see a lot of people buying a Porsche GT3, taking them to a shop, going, "Hey, can you make this thing better?"
True.
Yeah, I can put a wrap on it.
Yeah, right.
Now it's chrome.
Here's a sticker. Put that.
Just gained 5 horsepower, buddy.
That's right.
Man. Yeah. Well, but you think about that. That's still wheels and tires, right? People customize. Every vehicle out there has potential of being customized. Even my minivan.
And that's what Jeep has done so well over all these years, is made it to where we can create a whole lifestyle around it, and we can make them our own. I mean,
right.
So Jonathon, since you lived on the East Coast and then have moved west, where's your favorite place to wheel? If you had to pick a spot to go, where would you go?
So it's a toss up between Sand Hollow and Moab.
Oh,
and
wow.
And honestly, I think Sand Hollow is a high contender, mostly because it's only 2.5 hours away from me. So it's easy to get out there for a weekend and have a good time and then come home. But I do like how everything's right there. You can hit 3-4 trails, just one right after the other. And, you have a 2 days of solid just wheeling and good times. And there's everything from, level 2s all the way up to like 14s if you really want to get nuts with it. Moab, though, is got a lot more trail to do. It's just more spread out, so you can't hit it like one right after the other in that respect. But the trails are longer, so there's more to them. So I do like that, and the scenery in Moab is just to die for, in my opinion. So there's also quite a few places, because I haven't grown up out west, that I still are on my list of trails to done. I still haven't done Rubicon Trail.
Oh,
I know.
Oh,
Everyone's gonna be
my
shocked to
goodness.
hear that, but to be honest with you, it's owning a business. I have very little time. As much as
Of
I
course.
hate to,
When was the last time I did the Rubicon?
Yeah.
What we're going to need to do, and we've had these conversations quite a bit, we're going to actually need to have a vendor event on the Rubicon.
Yep.
Yes. That's it. We'll take our top 10.
Yeah, there we go.
There you go.
Which Jonathon fits in. You've been doing very well. And
Yeah.
Our top 10, or at least our top favorites. Our top 10 favorites.
our top favorites?
Our top 10 favorites. What would that be? But really it's the guys you want to go wheeling with, right? I mean, there's the wheeling is all about that. It's one thing to be to have friends. Another time, there's some friends I have that I wouldn't want to go wheeling with because it's not going to be fun. And I love you guys all, but sometimes you're just not that guy. Like, I like to relax. They'll bring stress with you. Leave it at home. But yeah, it's been 2 years since I've been on the con. So and well, it was the 2019 ModernJeeper Adventure was my last con trip, and I'm an hour and a half away, so I just suck. So
wheeling out of the East, did you ever have a chance to do any some crazy stuff out East?
Not really. Most of the I hate to say this, but most of the stuff I did out East was probably in places I wasn't supposed to be. I will say that's the biggest thing I've noticed out West versus in the East Coast is out here you can pretty much just find where the road ends and just go have a good time and find some stuff to go play on. In the East Coast, you got to go to like an off-road park or like a
Yeah.
sanctioned event, it's not as open, it's a lot more dense over there. So you got to
For
go
sure.
find the places you're allowed to be. And I think I left there because I lived in Florida for a long time also. And so a lot of my time was down there. So it's a little different. I've been all over the East Coast a lot. So anything from getting in the swamps in Florida and the mud and stuff out there to the Virginia hills and, rocks and stuff in that area. I mean, I've done some of it, but I did do an event with a buddy of mine where we went out and it was sanctioned and we were doing some pretty cool stuff, but I couldn't tell you where it was. I don't remember.
Sanctioned.
It was. I remember it being at some sort of the campground was at like a horse racing track or something, and we were somewhere out there in the mountains doing some stuff, and it was
a lot of those places are that whole, well, I know a guy who has some property and we can go there, and
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I do know there was about 100 to 200 vehicles out there doing some actual trail guide runs and stuff. So it was some sort of organized event, but
cool.
It was nothing like what I see out here with the 300 to 1,000 or more, event gatherings.
Right. Well, I got to say that was kind of funny, and this keeps striking me, like your logo there, right? So you got your logo there on your hat, and you got your logo on your shirt, and when you came walking in initially, before we were looking at earlier, I'm like, what is he, like a cop on the side or something? You got the black hat, you got the black, and for all of our listeners, the reason I'm describing this is because it looks like a shield, like his logo on his shirt looks like a shield. So you have to go to youtube.com/ModernJeeper and see it. Yeah. So it had that, and I was like, it was like this protective duty, like I expect to see out in his car, right? Security in big bold letters that are reflective with the little yellow light on top.
It is kind of a badge, though. I kind of like it. Like, it's very prominent.
You know what it is? It's actually, so when we were, talking about the company and like the vision we had for like, well, what do we want to do? It's like, do we want to be like another Sin City name, or do we want to be a Las Vegas, whatever? And, ultimately, we didn't want to, put ourselves in a position where it was like just a Vegas specific, brand. We wanted to be more, optional to grow, like not necessarily just be limited to the Vegas area. So we were like, okay, well, what's more of like you can be anywhere kind of a name. So that's where we kind of came up with the American. A lot of Jeepers, they're very patriotic, and we thought it fit pretty well. And so then we were deciding, okay, well, what's our logo going to look like? And to be honest with you, this is actually a presidential seal template that we've modified. We put some wrenches in the logo and stuff. But that's kind of where we got the base idea for the design. And we kind of took, in the very center of it is a shield icon. And so one of our simple logos is just a shield that's just says American Off-Road on it and stuff like that. So that's, it's kind of the root, or the foundation of the company, or the country is the presidential seal, all that kind of stuff. And that's kind of where the origin came from. And we kind of thought it was very patriotic. We were all very, patriotic in our beliefs and stuff. So we wanted to kind of have that show through in our company design and, what we do. But it is kind of, awesome. It's very, I agree. It's very formal, I guess, in the look of it.
Well, just from a distance, like you start looking at it closely and you get that, you can see the more of the seal side. For the distance, you come walking in with the black, right? Black button up shirt, black hat, all of that. I was like, whoa, okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. Like you can see kind of like more of the details of it. If I can get the glare off of there. But
and for our listeners, is that available? Can people buy it, swag off your website?
So if you go to jeepdaddy.com and then click on our logo there, you can buy all the swag you want on there. It'll drop ship directly to you. There's all kinds of shirts and hoodies and backpacks and all kinds of stuff on there. If you're local and you want to just come by the shop, we do keep a small selection on hand of hats and T-shirts and things like that. So yeah, it's available in a couple places.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, swag. We're trying to work on like some like, and it's hard to find.
Yeah.
Because we have a whole Made in USA brand of that we built on just for our logo, and so we've been looking for like Made in USA T-shirts and like Made in USA stuff because it was and it's hard to find, and we think we found a couple. So we're gonna have some interesting stuff coming out in the future as we start experimenting with expanding our swag line.
I have ideas.
Oh, ideas are ideas. Put them on paper.
Oh,
Does it have anything to do with? I know what you cloaked last summer.
No, that's awesome. I have other ideas though, but
that was from our guest last week.
Nice. Oh, yeah.
Who now we're gonna have a competition because Jonathon's gonna have to see if his reach is better than her reach because she did pretty darn good with her promotion of this episode.
Yeah.
So now we're gonna get a competition going between our guests to see who can get us more listens.
More, yeah.
Well, I will say that it will not be me doing that. I don't know how to do social media at all. So my partner's wife, Danielle, if you do follow us on any of our social media, I'm sure you've seen her on there. She is a whiz with that stuff and is all over making sure our brand gets promoted everywhere. And so I will turn to her for all that kind of stuff.
Danielle actually, she reached out. I got a message from her a little while ago and said, "Hey, we're on it." So it was cool.
Nice. Yeah, we've had a few, and I've had a few guests come through that were like, "Hey, fantastic, thanks for being on the show," and you're like silence in their end. You're like,
right?
Really? Like, did you just hate the show that much that you just don't want to share it? Like, did we offend you in some way?
No. I was trying to get this. I wasn't sure if this was live or pre-recorded, so I was trying to get all this stuff squared away last night. Like, all right, we got to get our stuff together so we make sure everybody's watching.
What's really funny is I've started to tell people that it is all scripted, and then they just kind of sit there and they go, "You wrote all that down?" No, there's no script.
Made it for my live studio audience.
Yes.
Right.
Hey, we should start doing that. You guys need to laugh more. So we're gonna have like canned laughter. I'm gonna have
a little
canned
laugh track.
With a little button that you can push.
Exactly. It's kind of amazing since podcasts are so big, how much technology is out there, how many websites are out there. And there is one where you can do the whole thing as you're going through and doing it. And you drop in like as you're going. It's like a producer would be as they're going doing it. You can do stuff like canned laughter, but it has to be done live. Like as you can't go back later and make an edit on it and change it up in the system. You've got to just do it as you're going. So you have all the stuff pre-recorded and scheduled. Like now a word from our sponsor. You hit a button and it starts playing, and it just all builds it into
with
the
a
file.
Mixing board and all that. Yeah, I can just see that. That'd go.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of work.
That's why we call this a BS session. This was never meant to be work. This is all fun, talking with friends.
Yep.
So okay, so we've learned about your Jeeping history. We learned about your wheeling history and some of your favorite trails and your trail failures because you haven't been on the trails. So let's talk about some more about your customers. So let's just go back 2020. Like, what was your favorite build you did in 2020?
Oh gosh. It's so difficult to keep track of them, to be honest with you. Let me think. Trying to think what stands out. I think last year I know what it is. We have a 1984 CJ7 that we built for a customer that it definitely speaks to our ability to do custom work, but still bolt on stuff at the same time. So this customer came to us and she had this Jeep that was more sentimental than anything. It was like a father figure, left it to her, and it was in really bad shape. And she wanted, initially she decided, I just want to get it running so I can drive it. And so we did some minor repairs to it to try to make it run better. And it had a V8 in it, had an old 350 in there. And we did some stuff. And as we did some stuff, we found some more stuff. And, we found the body was pretty bad, rusted through, had some holes in it and stuff. So we gave it back to her and we said, we really think you need to address some other issues. And long story short, we ended up doing a complete frame off restoration on this thing.
Wow.
and we upgraded quite a bit in the process.
Wow.
So every single body panel is brand new. The tub is brand new.
Wow.
It has a completely custom fabricated dash because we kind of eliminated a lot of the original stuff that was not needed because we weren't using it, like the AC controls and all that stuff. We just got rid of it. We put a brand new 350 crate motor in there. We put a EF5 fuel injection system on it. Got a brand new turbo 350, and then we started. It had the original axles are a passenger drop. We wanted to convert it to a driver drop, so we put a TJ 231 transfer case. We put JK axles under it, but she made it very clear that this thing was just to drive around, not really for the dirt. So she didn't want to invest in like a crazy suspension or anything like that. So we actually leaf sprung the JK axles.
Wow.
Because of the width of the axles, we had to like outrig the frame because it's too narrow. So we put some outriggers on there and welded those on to the frame to support the leaf springs out wide. And because it's super wide on leaf spring, it actually handles really well.
Wow.
So you can drive this. Yeah, there's no steering stabilizer on it. You don't need it. The steering is super flat on it. It's on 37s. It's got chromoly, shafts in there so it can handle the horsepower. It's 400 horsepower from that motor that's in there. It drives fantastic. And on the inside, we've got, PRP seats. We've got a full custom Genrite cage. It's got metal cloak armor all the way around. It's and it's all powder coated. There's not a drop of paint on it. So it is, 100% powder coated. So we did like a two-tone black. She was funny. She didn't want any color on it. So it's all black. And there was, she came by the shop at one point to check on it. And we had some pink tape on the manifold so that there was nothing dropping in the motor. She's like, "What is that color?" It's like, "I don't want any color on my Jeep. It's just some tape." It won't be there. So I would think that's probably my favorite build that we've done last year. So that would definitely be the top of it.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
Would you rather do the big project type builds, or do you like the more I don't want to call them cookie cutter, but I mean it is the bread and butter for a shop. It's nice when it's just a couple of bolt-on things, but do you enjoy the big projects more, or are those just like another drain on the shop?
No, to be honest with you, I like both. So I like, to your point, the kind of I want a bolt-on lift and I want wheels and tire kind of starting point for a lot of people. That is a lot of people. They go and they buy a Jeep, whether it be new or used, and they're just like, "I just want to lift wheels and tires." So we do get quite a bit of that, and that kind of keeps us, steady, as far as that goes. But we do get from time to time, we get more of the big projects builds, and I like those for the mental challenge to try to problem solve, and let's kind of the creative, mind go to work and to come up with what people are looking for. And then it's like, okay, well, this is what they're after. Let's see how we can turn that into a finished product, and to see their faces like, "Wow, this is way better than I expected." That is like a lot of gratitude. It makes you feel really good to see somebody really happy with, what you're giving them. We put a lot of sweat and time and effort into what we do. And, at the end of the day, to what we talked about earlier was we are mechanics. We're not, we're not like the guy with the bankroll that can just, do whatever. We do this because we love it. We love working with our hands, building stuff, and being able to do this as a career and be successful enough that it can pay the bills and we can keep doing it is so gratifying. And to be that it's I don't know how to explain it. You say if you enjoy what you do, you never work a day in your life. I wish that it's true. I feel like I do work a lot, but I think the end result is well worth what we do going into it. We take a lot of pride and in what we do, and we're not perfect. We're going to make mistakes, but we try very, very hard to make sure that every customer that comes through here leaves happy, has a good experience. Whether if they got to come back because they have a problem, we'll do everything we can to make it right, at the end of the day.
That's awesome. Well, and that says a lot to how successful you've been in the 2 years you've been doing this. This is, you have that great customer service attitude. It's a great passion of yours. You're basically trying to pass that passion on to your customers.
Mm-hmm.
And they I'm sure they recognize that. Honesty and integrity goes a long way too.
It does.
Yeah.
Definitely does.
So one of our final, we've kind of hit you with bunch of our fast 5 questions, but one of our final ones is always a favorite. Is what would be your favorite mod under $500?
Ooh, favorite mod under $500. That's such a low price point.
Right?
That's the point of the question. Hey, it used to be $100. When we first started doing this 3 years ago, I had a $100 question. That was even tougher.
$500, huh? Let's see. I would say, okay, well, I'm a light guy, so I like lots of lights. I know they joke about lights over lockers and stuff like that, but lockers cost more than $500. And I will say, with the heat out here and being able to wheel at night, a stock Jeep can do a lot. So being able to take your Jeep out and enjoy it all year round, a good set of lights, whether they be rock lights or auxiliary lights, I would say that's probably my favorite mod. Put a set of rock lights with a multi-switch pod, for a few $100, and you've got the makings for a lot of optional accessories to add down the line. So that's probably my favorite inexpensive mod.
What a great answer.
I just saw, and this kind of ties into one of our people that we enjoy working with, Baja Designs. I just saw some renditions of their lights that they're going to come out with on the Bronco. I know that we're ModernJeeper, but it's kind of interesting. Do you think that manufacturers will start creating spots for aftermarket lights? And it kind of what Baja Designs did with the Bronco is they've really filled their little areas almost perfectly, almost like, did the manufacturer go, hey, you know what, we don't have any Broncos out there in the world yet here's a Bronco, the full size, not the sport, with pods already built into it from Baja Designs. Interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah, we are a ModernJeeper, but we're going to be talking about the Bronco a lot in the coming months and coming years, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Whether we're laughing at it or admiring it or crying over it, is one of those. We're going to be talking about it. Around here we're already talking Toyotas and Dodges, and now what about your customer base, Jonathan? Is it obviously kind of wide variety from the mall crawler to the rock crawler? Overlanding? Do you do a lot of overlanding builds?
We don't do a lot of the mods. We do a lot of like the suspension and stuff like that for the overlanders. We do offer, like rooftop tents and overland accessories and things like that for those that want it. I think because of what we do with our personal builds and what we do with a lot of our customer builds, we're not really known as like an overland shop. So most of our clients that are into overlanding tend to kind of source that stuff on their own. We did actually just install one of your roof racks yesterday on a 2-door JL. That was our first time seeing that like in person, and like very impressed with it. And it's probably going to be, we're going to try to market that a little more to promote it, because it's very well put together, and I think it'll fit for a lot of people that are looking for that type of modification for specifically more the overland crowd. And I'm hoping that'll kind of bring some more of that business towards us. And we definitely want to cater to all types of off-roading, not just specifically rock crawling. And whether you want to go to the mall with your rig, or you want to go to the rocks, or you want to go out and go camping, or you want to go fly into the desert as fast as possible, I'd like to be able to offer all of those things.
Right.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's funny. We just coming out. In fact, Friday, we're premiering a new video all about the JK rack systems. So, because it was kind of interesting when we started the whole rack thing, we got into it, and and that was the acquisition back in the January of last year, and then we've kind of focused on the JL product line, which you just installed, and the development of that, and we haven't really promoted the JK product line because it's just kind of been the standard line that was already there. But we've done some improvements to it and some modifications, and our team upstairs has a video that they're releasing on Friday. And it's kind of interesting. We're going to play with it a whole premiere thing and just see how well it premieres out, and all about the JK product line. But it's a pretty impressive system. I mean, the 2-inch tube, the strength it has. I mean, just installing that front hoop on the JL. I mean, that's the strength there, and what our engineer. We have one primary engineer who focuses on that system, and the innovation he did. Now, on the flip side of that, he's struggling right now because the cowl on the 392 and the Mojave JT are about 2 inches taller. So it doesn't work. You can't get it on there. So we don't even know. I mean, it's going to be a matter of seeing, is there enough of a 392 population that wants a rack that it's worth creating a whole new mounting system for the front, or is that simply an audience that's simply, no, I'm not going to throw 800 pounds on the top of my rig or 300 pounds on the top of my rig. No. It will be interesting to see. Wow. This has been another great episode. I really, really appreciate Jonathon coming out here and doing it. So, for all of our listeners, our fans, and our followers, how do they get a hold of you? How do they find you?
So you can reach us. You can call us at our number's 702-478-5222. We have a website. Our website address is offroadshoplasvegas.com. And then we have links to our phone number and contact. We have a contact us on that website. We're on Instagram, Facebook. We're on Google. We're on Yelp. So you can message us through all of those avenues as well. We try to be as open as possible to be able to get a hold of us. So pretty much across the board, however your favorite medium is, you can reach us through there.
Corey, any sort of tech tips you wanted to touch on? Or maybe Jonathon, anything? What's the biggest thing you've run into in the last week that you're going? You're teched out. Yeah.
We continually, and for those of us, for our followers that follow Metal Cloak Owners Club, there is a lengthy thread going on regarding again sway bars. And
sway bars.
Oh my goodness!
Oh, is that the anti-rocks? Is that the anti-rock thread?
Yes.
Yeah. So I have my opinions about anti-rock. Love John Curry but I have my opinions about anti-rock.
They can check it out. I responded, and hopefully it was kind of a mic drop kind of response. I don't know.
You just always stir it up when you do that.
Yeah, I know, but it was
that's me.
It's what? Again, it's our technical. We sometimes overthink so many things, and I think there's so much information out there that we tend to want to believe the wrong side of it. And it's simpler. You know what we all do is not rocket science. We're not going to space. Well, maybe some of you are. I don't know.
I've been there. I'm back.
It's just so simple, and we tend to want to make things so complicated. And that's why dealing with shops who know what they're doing is such a benefit. And I know that Jonathon and so many of the shops that we visit and we deal with, there's a lot of guys that come in and they don't ever write the check to pay them money, but they waste a lot of not waste. I didn't mean to say that. They spend a lot of your time asking for answers to these simple questions. And, kudos to all the shops across the country who take the time out and go, well, let's talk about that and let's try to make sense of this. The information superhighway, as we know of the internet, is becoming just flooded with opinions and
crap,
not necessarily the right information all the time. So it's easy to get biased and get guided a certain direction. But if you have questions, go to your local shop, go to your local Jeep club, ask these questions amongst your peers. Don't simply go, well, I read on the internet, because Guys,
Come on.
that's not helpful.
Come
Hello,
on.
Modern Jeepers. So this is the commentary section. Corey, hereby known as Corey's rant. We'll have these weekly.
Well, I can appreciate a lot of what he's saying. I mean, nothing's more frustrating than someone who comes in and says, "Well, I read online that such and such is what I should be doing," and it's like, well, how do you know who you're listening to knows what they're talking about?
Right.
And one of the things that we do here is we try to make ourselves as available as possible to answer those questions, because to your point, a lot of people they don't have the background to understand how a sway bar works, for example, or what it's for, and just answering certain questions that people have. We can explain why we do what we do when it comes to the modifications, and why when you lift a vehicle you have to take certain steps to maintain the correct geometry on the axle, so you don't drive all wonky when it's all finished. That we try to make ourselves a information point that people can rely on, in the hopes that they are going to obviously be a customer, but at the end of the day, if they just want to do it themselves, that's okay. At the end of the day, we're all in the off-roading, we like to do this, so it's fun. I do have a lot of work on my plate, but I try to make myself as available as possible, as well as the other guys in the shop that are ask those kinds of questions. And we try to get out on trails with the clubs and with different groups, and it's a little easier in those environments to answer those kinds of questions, because I don't have the phone ringing and people trying to get their job, their work done on stuff. So it's a little better there than it is in in the shop sometimes. But to your point, having reliable information to know that what you're being told is correct is way more valuable than just I heard the other day somebody say that the internet is full of people who write their own truth, and just because somebody says it doesn't mean that it is correct. And it's definitely, fact checking is very more important now than I think it has been.
Yeah.
I'm on the internet. I'm right.
Right.
I'm right. You're wrong. So that's, how do you, like, to answer your question, how do you know he was telling he knows what he was talking about? He has more posts than anybody else.
Right.
He hangs out
He posts
more.
a lot.
He posts a lot. People can't argue with him.
Yeah.
Yep. It's very true. Very good wisdom. Good wisdom, my friend. Well, I was going to say last week, Corey, it was all about, what was the topic your Corey's rants last week? Now,
I don't know. It's whoever is affecting me that day.
It was considerate. Being considerate.
Be considerate.
And I said this week we talk about being competent, and I don't think we even had to, because Jonathon and American Off-Road Customs is truly the example of being competent.
That's right.
And if we were a shining example, it's absolutely true. The rest of us, I don't know.
Now that I know that they're only about a week out, I'm so bringing some vehicles to you.
Okay. Well, we're happy to have it.
That's awesome. Well, and it's time to we probably need to do another little event down there too. When are you going to go through Vegas again with the CTI trailer, Corey?
It'll be before, it'll be during Hump and Bump.
Hump and Bump. Yeah. Okay, cool. That'd be great. Maybe we can do something and an open house or something with American Off-Road.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That would be fantastic.
That'd be great. Cool. I'd love to see it. All right. Well, my friends and all our Modern Jeepers, you know how to reach me, Matson at motorcloak.com and Corey at motorcloak.com and Jessy at motorcloak.com. And you can reach us on social media, ModernJeeper Adventures, to check out our events, which there's no current open events to register for, because we're doing Moab this weekend and Tillamook in July. But we will have next month the Rubicon registration go live, and the Colorado Adventure go live, and get you all the details there. And also check us out at ModernJeeperForum.com, where you can see all kinds of good stuff and answer questions. And maybe I'll go in there, answer them. And maybe we can get Jonathon to go in there and be a guest tech for a day or something.
There you go.
So,
okay.
and That's it. But if you like this episode, smash that button, say like to us. And if you're on your favorite podcast, please go out there and leave us a review and tell us you like us, you hate us, whatever. But we like to see those things. It makes us feel important, makes us feel proud that we're actually doing something of quality and not just BSing here for an hour like I can do so easily. Thank you, my friends. And we will see you on the rocks.
Cheers.
Bye.